What was the most fucked up thing you saw in school? In 6th grade, my math teacher was arrested for having child pornography on his laptop and watching it during breaks. He had just finished helping me on a math problem when he looked up at me, smiled, and said, "I really like that birthmark on your face. It looks like a teardrop." It looks really cute when the vice principal walks into the room and asks him to step outside. We have big wind down in our classroom and the front door was wide open. Outside stood the entire administration and 2 police officers. The vice principal took his laptop, and they left. Never saw the teacher again. A kid in my biology class accidentally stabbed his face with scissors. Then another kid chased him out of the room with a microscope slide to catch a few drops of blood. So he took his blood-covered slide and the teacher resignedly let us see the red blood cells still moving around. The stabbed kid was fine. A few stitches and he was good to go. Opportunist. My middle school teacher did a thing where we could bring our pets to school. A kid in my class got attacked by a macaw after he tried to grab it off a desk so he could play with it and had to go to the hospital to get stitches. I was suspended and grounded for bringing a macaw to school. Don't fuck with parrots. My bestie's green cheek conure can bite hard enough to make you need stitches and he's smaller than a hamster. When I was 8 we were making cookies in class and they gave us square cheese graters to make chocolate chips with, because they didn't trust us with knives. A fair judgment. Some kid was holding a few graters and pretended to be a robot. This girl shouted at him because he wasn't a robot and proceeded to take one of the graters and grate his hand. Lots of blood happened and then a pair of twins both fainted. The fuck? What happened to the person who tried to grate the kid's hand? I don't recall her getting in trouble at all. Not that I saw anyway. I think it was just put down as an accident. In kindergarten there were 2 kids in my class that were cousins. They were just kind of dirty. Physically I mean, no real regard for hygiene. Our school was made of concrete blocks so the window sills were deep enough to sit in as a kid. In the bathroom the window was way up high, like 2 feet from the ceiling. During the allotted class bathroom break, these 2 cousins would climb up the stall walls, sit in the super high window sill, and dangle their feet. Then the 16 other boys in our grade would line up like a firing squad and try to piss on their feet. It was a game. If you hit the lanky one's feet you're doing okay. But if you hit the short one's feet that's really something. The kids getting pissed on loved it as much as we did. They invented the game. We did this every single day for a whole school year. 16 5-year-olds would line up and piss on the wall. Nobody ever said a word to us about it. It was a rival football game and the stands were packed. A section of the old wood bleachers collapsed and 20 or so students went to the hospital with numerous broken bones, concussions, and lacerations of various degrees. During the same game, I saw a guy get hit so hard in the leg that it shattered and both bones were showing. Poor kid ended up in a wheelchair for the rest of the school year. I know it has nothing to do with your comment, but it reminded me about a classmate who had his leg broken and had to use a wheelchair. An earthquake happened and he was left all alone in the classroom while everyone else evacuated. Bonus, we once had a gas leak but fortunately everyone returned home safely. Bonus 2, my school also went bankrupt 1 month ago because the owners had a crippling debt with the bank and didn't pay rent for the building we were using. These 2 kids got into fight at my school. Somewhere during the tussle one kid lost his balance and on the way down threw the meanest uppercut ever. He connected on the other kid's bare teeth and pushed them into his gums. He fucked up his own hand really bad. Blood just everywhere and no teachers in sight for like another 3 minutes. I had this kid named Con in my 6th grade class, always saying the stupidest shit, asking stupid questions, just pissing off the teacher in general. Well, I'll never forget it. It was the Tuesday of our last week of school. Con was assigned this like 15-page packet for whatever reason. He flipped and started cussing out the teacher. Our teacher at the time, who was this pretty nice guy, turned around and with the meanest look I've ever said pointed at him and said, "You better clean up your goddamn act or you're gonna end up in prison in a couple years." Con kicked him, right in the balls. The teacher pushed Con so hard that Con fell into a desk behind him and apparently fractured his scapula. The entire class was dead silent. I'm pretty sure the teacher got fired and Con never came back to school. Not sure what happened to him. In my school there was a kid, or multiple kids, we don't know, who would shit in a urinal every once in a while. They were known as the urinal shitter. Someone made a meme with the Grim Reaper going to the doors template with all the bathrooms they had done it in, and the Reaper going into the last bathroom, the office bathroom. The meme spread very quickly and I guess some teachers saw it. Since there is blood in the meme, coming from under all the closed doors, they decided it was a credible threat of violence. They closed the school for 2 days for safety concerns. Just a super weird story all around. Sounds like a case for the Hardley boys. Someone had taken a massive shit. It was larger than a coffee cup in width and considerably longer. So large it was impossible to flush. People were lined up into the halls to see this monstrosity, including faculty. You know it's a small town when a turd calls that much attention. Edit. Damn, this blew up. Thanks for the silver in all the upvotes. On a side note, I never knew that such thing as a poop knife existed, but thank you dear Redditors for the laughs. Nobody had a poof knife. There was a girl I was friends with who had developed early and had pretty big boobs and considered thick for a 5th grader. Hanged with a group of 5 or 6 girls. Most of the girls in this group were short, skinny, and the pretty ones of the class, so she stuck out from that group. During recess these 5 girls ganged up on her and pulled down, sometimes ripping her shirt, exposing her chest, and laugh cause they thought it was funny. She'd fight it and tell them to stop, but they'd do it even more, sometimes pinning her arms to the side so they could. She ended up hanging out with me more and finding different friends in middle school. Jesus fucking Christ. This is just straight sexual assault. These were her friends and they were pinning her down and pulling her shirt down. A kid in my school year stabbed one of my friends in the back. Not verbally, I mean with an actual kitchen knife. We were 11. Edit. Wow. I didn't think my most popular comment would be one about my friend getting stabbed. We are in the UK and it's 31 years ago in a place near Peterborough. I've tried finding it online but there aren't any online articles about it. I've asked my mum as she is a hoarder and she might have a copy of it from the paper as it made national headlines. He was stabbed in the back and it narrowly missed his spine. He was in hospital for a week as needed surgery to remove the blade and then went home with no side effects physically except the scar, which was pretty impressive. Obviously psychologically was a different kettle of fish. The boy that stabbed him wasn't one of his friends but wasn't an enemy either. He had gone around that morning saying that he was going to stab someone but no one took him seriously. He was sat at the desk behind Des, my friend, and leaned forward and stabbed him. He was expelled but at that time I believe the law was that he was considered a child and therefore couldn't be prosecuted. Knife crime wasn't really a thing here in the UK at the time. I hope that answers some of the questions that there have been. A girl was coming back from a doctor's appointment and wasn't there to hear that we couldn't get out equipment for recess. She opened the door, grabbed something and went to leave. The wind kicked up and slammed the door on her hand and she lost a finger. They rushed her to the hospital and they sewed it back on and eventually it was back to normal, but that was the most fucked up thing I had seen. I actually remember that happening to someone in the daycare my mom put me in. Needless to say, I didn't stay in that daycare for very long. I had a Scottish teacher and an Irish teacher in 5th grade, and they were great mates. I got along well with both of them as well, so as I was leaving for the weekend I went and told them to have a good weekend. They told me the same. Anyway, when I got to school on the Monday, neither was there, which was odd. Then the next day the same story. This went on for about a week, and I was starting to get worried. Then about a week after, we had an assembly, where we found out that a Scottish teacher was a fugitive. What happened was on the Saturday after I wished them a good weekend, they went out for a party and got drunk. They then went over to Irish teacher's place, where they got into an argument. Scottish teacher got pissed and punched Irish teacher, who had heart problems, in the chest. He promptly died. Scottish teacher left, got his fiancée and fled the country. Presumably back to Scotland. Didn't actually see it, but the most fucked up thing that happened in my school was the time a sophomore videoed a special needs kid jerking it off in the bathroom stall from above in the stall next to him. Edit, didn't expect this thing to blow up, so thanks for that, I think. Secondly, just to clarify a few things, I'm from Alabama, and I'm not saying which high school I came from for privacy reasons and for the fact that this is really one of very few incidents that happened there. It was a pretty good for a public school, all things considering. The dude who recorded it did get into trouble. I want to say he got suspended at least, and there we were all given an assembly not long after about sexting and why it was illegal. There was a bathroom at my school near the special ed hall that nobody liked to use. The story was that occasionally during 7th period this special ed kid would go into one of the stalls and start loudly jacking off. One day I was in the bathroom taking a shit, 7th period, because I'm a dumbass and didn't believe it. And this kid walks in and gets into the stall next to mine. He then proceeds to start jacking off and making loud unintelligible noises. Being an avid reader of green text at that time in my life, there was no way in hell I was leaving my stall till he was gone. I waited like 15 minutes of him making post-nut noises before he left, without washing his fucking hands. I was mortified, and I decided to walk a lot longer to the next closest bathroom instead of using that one again.